Is it?
It is for him.
I don't think so.
Okay, we're up on live.
Yeah, I think we're live. Hopefully this will work. I'm actually going to be streaming this through Zoom. So if this is working on the outside, let me know. Let me know how the audio levels are. I'm doing this through Zoom since we're going to be discussing OBS. I didn't want to stream through OBS. I thought it would make more sense to kind of do it through a different medium. And then as we progress, we can use the OBS and kind of go through it. If I'm streaming through OBS, then it can't really change some of the settings. So anyways, I'm watching the outside feed. It doesn't show both of us at the same time. I've got Dr. Misa Griffith in here and her husband, Jerry, two of our favorite guests from the Non Sequitur Show. She wanted to learn how to stream, and she's going to be making a channel, but let me see if I can get us both in here. Let me try something a little bit different here. How about
briefly?
I did have it briefly. I don't know what happened.
I've got my camera on. I see the little light.
I kind of want to have us both on here at the same time.
My camera.
Let's see here. See, I'm screen sharing, and it actually shows both of us on my screen. It doesn't show it both of us on the outside, and I'm not quite sure why. Well, anyways, we'll have to make do. But you are there, right, Dr. Griffith?
We can hear you.
Awesome. So let me know if you guys can hear them. If you guys want to join, I will give you the video link if anybody wants to come in, ask questions. Also, you can actually call in as well. The phone numbers are below. If you have a specific local number you want to reach, you can go to a little web thing, put your zip code in, and it'll tell you what number to call. But we're going to start from scratch on this particular live tutorial, meaning that I'm going to assume that you know nothing. And the reason I'm doing that is because I've had a multitude of people that want to learn how to stream, and they really want to learn from the very basics. So if this is something that is new to you, great. If it's not, then maybe you might pick up a tip or something. But I am going to be going very, very basic on this. Okay, let's dive into it. So we are going to start. I'm going to be using Opera browser here because I've got two monitors. And I will recommend this. If you're going to stream, I highly recommend two monitors. Now, I had a monitor go kaput on me quite some time ago, and somebody was nice enough to donate a really high definition monitor for me. Then I found an old crappy monitor in the garage, and I'm using that as my secondary monitor. And it's perfect because it's square, and I just use it for monitoring stuff. And if you noticed on my desktop here, I do have system monitors here, and this is very important when you're streaming, I think, to monitor your CPU usage and your memory and all that, because if this number here is at 100 for a very long period of time, you can clip and you can get some problems on your streaming. Now, I do run very high CPU usage. Xsplit will run more than OPS usually. Xsplit is very CPU intensive. There are ways to eliminate some of that and kind of bring it down a little bit, but you want to make sure that you're not peaking too much. 98, 99%, fine. Even 100 for some period of time. But if you're maxing out your CPU and you're running into audio issues, it's because you're overdriving that CPU. But anyway, so we're going to start on here. We're going to go to YouTube. All right. So this is what it's going to look like. When you bring up your YouTube, this is how you set up your actual, what's called the ingestion. This is how you set up how to do your initial live stream before you do have to do anything in OBS. So I'm going to actually run it through my Great Debate Community channel. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to your Creative Studio, and your Creator Studio allows you to set up your feeds. So we're going to click on Creator Studio, and this is going to bring up your actual studio here. Let me get some people in here, I guess. Now they are going to a beta. The beta hasn't really done much with the live streaming yet. I'm not a big fan of the beta. I like the old version. I am one of those people that don't like change. I hated it when Google News changed. I hate it when people change stuff that I'm so used to doing. So I'm not a big fan of the beta yet, but maybe after I play with it more, I'll get more used to it. Hi, Brian G. Welcome. You want to say hi?
Hey, how's it going?
All right. So what you're going to do is in the alpha, assuming this is still going to be beta when somebody watches, or not beta when somebody watches later on, you have live streaming. So you're going to click on live streaming. And it's going to bring up your stream now. Now, this is where a lot of people start getting a little bit daunted by, because it is not really self-intuitive how to do these streaming. So we're going to start from, like I said, the very basics. The first thing I recommend you do is change your thumbnail. What the thumbnail is what people are going to see when they go to this video before it goes on air. In this particular case, I have the Great Debate Community thumb. You can download anything you want. I recommend a higher, at least 2 megapixel to 4 megapixel. The higher resolution, the better it's looking. And plus the thumbnail is what's going to drive people to your video. So all you do is you click change thumbnail and you can pick your thing for it. Now we're actually going to set up the ingestion though. So the way you're going to do this is on your basic info, this is going to be your title here. Okay. And I know, like I said, this is going to be really easy for a lot of people, but assume a lot of people don't know how to do any of this stuff. So you put your title in and what you want in the video description. When you click this button here, schedule next stream, this is when it actually creates an event. And I'll show you the difference here. If you look under the events here, and here's a little pro tip. Instead of clicking event with the left mouse button, which takes you out of the screen, what I like to do is I like to create a new tab. Okay. And if you notice right now, I have nothing in the events. It should be empty. Okay. I have no scheduled events. But when I click this next scheduled stream, it creates a time. Okay. And you can create it for whatever time zone you're in. But when you do that, now when I right click the events and I create a new tab, it should come up as an event. And everybody's gonna be like, oh, Great Debate Community streaming. No, we're not. And here's my title. See? Mm-hmm. So this right here tells me a few things. One, it tells me this is monetized. 2, this tells me it's unlisted, and I did it unlisted so people don't actually think that I'm going to be broadcasting on the Great Debate Community channel. So if it's a padlock here, it means it's private. If it's a little chain, it's unlisted, and if it's globe, that means it's public. So this right here allows you to actually create a link, and this is what you're actually going to be sending out to people. So again, I'm going to right click again, open link in new tab rather than click on it with the left because I don't want to leave this page. So I want to create a new tab.
Steve, can I stop you for a second?
Yes, yeah, please. Ask. Oh, by the way, ask questions as we go, please.
Quick question, something I've wondered. When you say it's unlisted, if somebody is subscribed to you, will they find out about it or not? If it's unlisted?
If it's unlisted, no. You have to give them the link and then they could watch it.
Including your subscribers. Okay.
Including your subscribers.
It makes it private.
It kind of makes it private. The only thing, the difference between the private and the unlisted is a private you have access to. Nobody else does. It's privatized, even if they have the link. But the unlisted, if you give them a link, they can go watch it.
So
a lot of people use the unlisted for their Patreon, right? Let's say I have a video that I only want the Patreons to use. I'll give them the unlisted link. Now, granted, that link can get out. Don't get me wrong. But the rule of thumb on YouTube is if it's unlisted link, don't share it with people. That's kind of the rule of thumb.
Yeah.
So this tells me that this link worked. This is the link right here that you would actually cut and paste into Twitter and other places. This tells me that I have my live chat here. And so this is what the video would actually look like. Now, when you generate this normally, it's going to produce a live link, and the live link is down here. And what those will say is before you generate, it'll say live. Now, you can use that link to give the people, but remember, that's only a live link to your stream. So whatever your stream is going to be, that's what the live link is too. So if you have changing videos and streams, then that live link is only going to give you to the last one that you've done or doing. So these ones right here are individual, unique strings that are unique URLs. I only give out this one. I don't give out the link, the live one, because it gets really confusing because again, they're not going to go where you think it's going to go if you just use that live link. So, excuse me. So let's get into this real quick. So the category here, this will be what you're streaming for. I go to entertainment and privacy. You can unlisted, public, or private. And so again, this is unlisted because I don't want people to go find this. Excuse me. And then down the bottom here, it says the encoder setup. This right here, this server URL is what you would use for what you would stream when you're doing it from Zoom, which I'm doing now, or when you're doing it to Facebook. Normally, you don't have to use the server URL a lot because a lot of things have it incorporated. But if you need the URL, this is where you get it from, especially for Facebook. And this is your stream key, the most important thing on your channel. Make sure you never hit this button reveal when you're live, because if people get that key, they can stream to your channel anytime without your permission. Doesn't matter. This is a encoded key that's unique to your channel. Don't give it out to anybody unless you highly trust them. There's only 3 or 4 people that I know that have ever had my stream key that I trust. So it's very rare. But this right here is what you're going to put in to OBS, XSplit, and other encoders when we get to that point. So the two main things when you're streaming is the URL and the stream key, but most of the time you won't even put the URL in. Any questions so far? Dr. Griffith, Jerry, Brian, Malik, anybody else in here? God, it's filling up quickly. Okay.
Now you're using Zoom to start, correct?
I am using Zoom to stream right now because eventually when I get into the OBS, when you stream with OBS, you're locked out of a few things, and I didn't want to be locked out. I want to have the ability to change things to show you how it's done. Okay.
So go ahead.
But I like stream. Yeah, this is the first time I've streamed with UBS, Zoom. I like Zoom. You can stream with Zoom. The problem is you don't have the capabilities you have with OBS, and you'll definitely see the difference. All Zoom allows you to do is stream like I'm doing now. It doesn't give you an ability to really play videos per se, or do introductions videos like we do on Non Sequitur Show and things of that nature. So we're gonna get into stream options. Okay, so the basic info is pretty self-explanatory. The stream options, these are a little bit more advanced things. I usually have enable DVR. I'm gonna actually click that. Enable DVR basically allows the people watching to go back and listen to something while you're streaming. And there's some advantages of that. One, if they want to hear something over again, or if they just they're late and they want to start from the beginning. It doesn't, I found it doesn't really use that much latency or anything like that. It doesn't really cause any problems. So I generally keep the DVR enabled. The make archive is unlisted when you complete. That's if you want to immediately take it to an unlisted status. I never use that. And then the stream latency issues. This is something that you're going to have to determine based upon a few factors. One, your internet speed, two, your CPU usage. Mine's actually really good right now. 85 is great. But what the latency allows you to do is if you change this to a low latency, it means you can interact with the live chat a little bit easier. You get a minimal playback buffering, but what it's for is real-time interactions. So if you want to engage with the people live, it'll downcode the video settings a little bit and not be a higher resolution. It needs to be a time. It'll basically maybe pixelate. It can buffer, but at least you're interacting with the live chat. And then the ultra low latency would be, again, downcoding it. You can't stream at very high resolutions. You can't go to 4K or 1440p. I'm only at 720p usually. I found 720p to be optimal. If you want to go to 1080p, that's fine, but you really need a high-end computer to do it. At least something I would recommend a quad core, which this is, and I'd recommend at least like 80 megabits per second upload and download for your internet speed. But I don't find that I needed to do latency. I had on the dual core, I had to use a low latency. If not, then it didn't really work with real time very well.
Steve,
yes, go ahead, Dr. Griffith.
This kind of setup you're doing ahead of time. You're not able to go in and do this during the show.
Yeah, this is all this is before you even go live. This is how you set up what's called the ingestion.
Right. So I'm just finding out if there's all of a sudden you've had it set it on normal and you'd like to say, oh, I'd like to set it on lower latency. Too late to do that, or you?
I think you can change it on the fly, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
I've never really tried. I believe that you can because I think it doesn't gray it out even when you're live. But you know what? I would have to test it. But yeah, I would just start with normal, and then if you have issues, then maybe try a low latency. There's no reason to go to a low latency with lower your resolution unless you have to, right? And then if you want to add a delay, the delay allows you, if you have a problem, then you can cut the feed and you can privatize it or even delete the video. I don't really add an extra delay. There's already I think an inherent 30-second delay, if I'm not mistaken, or something about that. So that's if you just want to add an additional delay to that. So let's go back up here real quick. By the way, it shows 0 watching now because, again, this is on my other channel. I have a couple channels. This is not live on this particular channel. I do have actually people watching. Okay, so let's go to the advanced settings. Down here, you'll see this little thing that says advanced settings, and yes, I'm using Windows 10. However, I do have Linux. I run Linux Studio. I run Mint. I've also got a ISO for Windows 7. I have different things I use for a virtual build. Okay, so this button here, you got to make sure that you have an enabled live chat. live chat is almost critical nowadays when you're streaming because it gives you real-time feedback, and especially videos like this where you're trying to explain things and then you find out later on that you didn't have the audio on or your audio sucked. It's really crap. We've all done it. Dr. Griffith is nodding her head going, yep, been there, done that. So I'm a big fan of the live chat. Plus, you get to interact with your fans and people that are asking questions. Sure. Vibrantly says, I think you can change latency on the fly. That sounds kind of weird out of context for some reason. Okay, so always make sure that this is checked if you want to make sure you have live chat on. Enable slow mode. This is when people say, hey, we need a slow mode in the outside chat because there's just so many people. When you've got 1,000 people watching, it goes crazy in the live chat. So what we usually do is we will put about a 10-second delay on, a 20-second delay on, which means you can only do a chat every 10 to 20 seconds. The problem with that is even at 1,000, it still doesn't slow down very much. So, but if you want to enable your slow mode, that is how you do it. I don't have it on right now. Automatically block spam messages. This is for people that use caps lock, and we'll put like 4 messages at a time. This is a nice little feature. It'll block it all automatically, so you don't have to deal with it. License and ownership rights. This allows you to actually change your licensing. I usually just do a standard YouTube license, but there's also the Creative Commons attribution. If you think your video might be shared and you think that people are going to use a lot and they mirror it or whatever, so you can put Creative Commons and basically anybody has use to it. They don't need permission, and it's just out there in the YouTube sphere. I just do a standard one. Syndication, this would be if you want that the video is available on other platforms. Now, the problem with that is you lose monetization if somebody plays the video through their platform. It's only when you go to the YouTube channel and it plays an ad, you get monetized. So some people will make it just to monetize platforms like YouTube and some other things and prevent people from playing it. Like you see all these, like when you pull up a video, like a non sequitur, if you actually search for it, you'll see all these Russian model sites that use our videos. Yeah. And if you watch it through those things, I don't think there's monetization because it's not playing through. You're not going to YouTube, right? You're playing it through a different platform. So, but yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have noticed that. I don't know what it is, but a lot of videos of ours, a non sequitur show, are used to attract Russian wives. So.
Are you sure they're not using it to teach operatives English?
You know what? There could be some nefarious purpose. I'm actually like a third of the way through Mission Impossible Fallout right now. So, maybe they do something like that.
Teaching them.
I started watching it last night. I couldn't finish it. Okay. I'm not going to go through all of this stuff. It's pretty self-explanatory. The only thing I might say is allow embedding. And now embedding allows you to take code and put it into a web page or something else. So again, if I'm running a blog or something like that, I can embed the video in the web page using HTML or as a PHP. So other than that, you just promote when you're live, promote on my channel, and your age restriction. These are pretty well self-explanatory options. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time into them. If your video is something that you want only to have people of age, then put an age restriction. Now, the problem with age restriction is, remember, is if you do enable that, you lose monetization for that particular video. You can't monetize an age restricted video. Okay. So we're going to go to the watch page. So actually, if you click on this, and again, I'm going to right click so I don't lose these tabs. This would bring me the video that I would be watching that would be sending out. It says it's live in 10 minutes. It's not. And this actually tells me that it's actually unlisted. So that's kind of how you do the ingestion. Once that's all set up, when you're ready to watch and you're ready to start broadcasting, I usually monitor it through the actual YouTube video like this. It actually tells me, you know what, it says 2 waiting, but that's actually me on twice. So so you've got some questions here. Steve, how do you just not get sniped? How do you not get sniped is you don't give the video link out to join. Now, by the way, yes, Fight the Flat Earth got sniped last night from what I understand. Hangouts is going away in 2020. So if you stream through Google Hangouts, you won't be able to do it. And sniping is obviously going away. But I'm going to show people how to do that real quick. If you want to do something where you're not streaming and you just want to do something really quickly and you just want to have a hangout, right? Like you've all seen the Google Hangouts. What you're going to do is you're going to go to events And you're just going to create a new live event up here. See, Dr. Griffith? So when I click on that, it's going to be somewhat similar to the stream, but this is going to be an event. Okay. Everything else is pretty much the same. And you can put your tags down here. The only difference is, and this is critical. Okay. This is one of the reasons why I'm showing this, because people screw this up all the time. Where it says type, if you just want to do a Google Hangout, you have to change this to quick. Okay. Google on-air Hangouts. Because if not, then you're going to have a problem. So if you just want to do a Google Hangout, then you go live. You can then go into your Hangout and run it just like you would any other Google Hangout. But this is where people get the most amount of confusion, is they keep forgetting to change custom, because custom is default when you start your channel.
Right.
Yeah. So you've been there and done that. You figured that out?
Not really, no.
Okay. Because that's one of the biggest obstacles I've seen. Mandelbroth says, what does snipe mean? Snipe is it's a feature, which I call a bug. We have written to Google and Microsoft and all them, and they call this a feature. And what it allows you to do is to remove anybody from the Hangout, including the hosts that's streaming, and then you have control over their channel for 5 minutes. But they see it as a feature to allow somebody to have control in case they're being bullied, which I believe is crap. I believe it's completely a bug they can't fix. They don't want to bother fixing it, and they're going to call it a feature and put it towards this social justice. Oh, if you're being bullied, you can remove somebody without having control. Because normally on Google Hangouts, you have to give somebody the ability to eject somebody. You have to give them the ability to show somebody. This ability allows somebody to eject somebody without having that from the person streaming. And so, yeah, it's definitely a bug. But since they're getting rid of Google Hangouts, that's probably why they're not going to invest too much time to fix that
So what does
feature.
custom do?
What, Malik?
What does custom do?
What is custom allows you to use encoder options, which we're going to be showing you here in about 5 minutes. I never use that on this particular channels. The only time I'm going to be using something like that, if you want to set up a event in advance and you know you're going to be streaming to it, you would use something like that. Okay. Generally speaking, that's going to be more advanced than most people are ever going to use. We do it on non sequitur because we have more than one show a day sometimes. Like last night, we had 2 flat earth discussions, one with Fight the Flat Earth, and then another with Team Skeptics. So we set up 2 individual events. That's when you would use something like that. So yeah, Keon's like, it's an exploit. And it is an exploit. And by the way, this channel was the first channel to get sniped in the Great Debate community before anybody even knew about it. Brojo, if you guys know who he is, he was the first person to use that feature. I forgave him for it. He still comes around, but he's still pretty much an arrogant little, you know what, even to this day. He's a pre-supper, so what does that tell you? Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's close this out. You guys good so far? I mean, you guys get the ingestion down? Any questions on that? If anybody wants to call in now, or join. The link is in the video description. But that's how you set up your event.
When I use Streamlabs, which you're getting to, right? It won't let me stream through the primary ingest. I always have to switch it to backup ingest. Does that have anything to do with like that setup?
Okay, well, you're using Streamlabs OBS, which is a little bit different. I might have a separate tutorial for that on one day. I'm going to be using OBS generic version, but normally you would use the ingestion on OBS to the primary intake. There is a backup. I don't know why you would have to use the backup one. I don't know why you would have to. Normally you just use the primary. But they both go the same place. But it's nice when you're streaming to the ingestion, because if you have any buffering because of any latency or something like that, the outside chat will notice it. But when it renders on YouTube as the actual video, you won't see any of that. So it's streaming to that ingestion. It's going, and it'll put it all together and make a nice cohesive video out of it. But if it's buffering, and it's just a lag issue, right? It's not because you're not streaming properly. If it's just a latency, it's like that on YouTube's end, it'll just affect the live chat for the live stream. It won't affect the actual video, which is kind of nice. All right, so I think we could dive into OBS at this point. Any other questions? Nope. Okay, so let's close this out. Okay, so this is going to be your OBS. So I'm using 21.1.0 64-bit edition. If you have a Windows-based processor and you quad core or something like that, use 64-bit. It's just a little bit easier. Just how the instructions are done by the CPU, so it's a little more efficient, I think.
Steve?
Yeah.
I have a iPhone 7 Plus. Is there any app for OBS?
I don't know if there's an iPhone version or an app or Android version. I know there's a Linux version for OBS. It's a little bit different, not by much. There's some actually unique things on the Linux version that's not on the Windows version. One of the problems that OBS has is that at certain times when you try to use Chrome, if you have your hardware acceleration on, it'll actually black it out. It doesn't show it properly. The way to fix that is to go into your Chrome setting and disable your hardware acceleration. If that doesn't work, you have to go to what's called your WebGL to fix it. But it's a nice feature on the Linux version of OBS. It has this little checkbox called something alpha. I don't remember the name of it, but you can click that and it actually fixes that problem for you. So what this is going to be your actual encoder. What this does is this is what's going to send your feed to the ingestion, and what you see is what you get basically on this. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to set this up properly, and you can go to settings down here, or you can go to settings up here. Let's see, where's settings right here in the file, but I usually just do these things. So settings is going to be the very first thing you want to do when you open up your OBS. And you're going to come across a screen like this. Most of this is done for you. There's very, very little in OBS that you really have to change, to be honest with you. I don't mess with it that much. I found the default settings to be just fine. So none of this stuff you really need to do much with. I'm not going to go into detail on it. I'm just going to go to what you really need to know, which is your stream right here. This is what you were talking about earlier. What server do you use? I use the primary YouTube ingestion server, but there are other ones you can go to, right? Backup, like you said. I don't know why you have to use that backup one, but this is what he was talking about, right? You have to use your backup.
Like it says the path is like invalid path or something.
Yeah, see, that's all set up through YouTube, right? You don't, that URL, remember I showed you that URL? That's what it's going to. This is why you don't have to put that URL in there.
No, it's just
the only thing you have to put in this one is your stream key. So if you remember from the OBS, or some of the Opera, when you go to here, actually I have this always on top, but when I go to my stream key down here, right here, this is what you put here. Okay, and of course it's blacked out so people can't see it. But this is where you're going to put this. The server URL you don't have to put in OBS because it's already done for you with the service and the stream type, which is kind of nice. So the most critical thing is putting in your stream key there. And again, if somebody has your stream key, they can stream to your channel. Now, the other thing of major importance is your output. When you're streaming, by the way, I always use simple output, but there is some other output modes. But we'll have an advanced session another time. But what you need to know is your video bit rate. Now, depending on how high your resolution is, the more bit rate you need to support it. If you go to Google and you type in, I want to broadcast at 720p, what bit rate do I need? It will tell you. It's around 5,000 to 8,000, I believe. About 6,000, that's what I have it as. If you go to a 4K, you need much higher. If you go to like a 420p, which is much lower, you can go down to a couple thousand bit rate. So the higher the bit rate, the more CPU usage you use, the more bandwidth you use, but the more clarity you get, the higher resolution. I personally have found that 720p is optimal. We've tried 1080p on the Non Sequitur show. We have sync issues. We've subsequently went back down to 720p, and nobody's noticed a difference because there isn't very that much difference. So Vibrantly says, Steve, why do you use Opera? I use both Opera and Chrome. I have Chrome on my other monitor. The reason I'm using Opera is because I'm logged into two different accounts. I'm logged into the one I'm streaming with and my main account for various reasons. And then I'm logged into the Great Debate community to show you guys how to do this. There is some major advantages to Opera. I'll tell you that right here and now. One major advantage of Opera is it's fast as hell. Chrome is a great browser, and Microsoft Edge is actually discontinuing Edge from when I just recently found out. They're going to be trying to put more into Chrome. But Chrome is extremely memory intensive. It loads a lot of things in the background, and it's very efficient, right? It wants to have the best experience. So it's very memory intensive. If you have a high amount of memory, that's great. But if you're at 4 megabyte memory on your computer, like on my laptop, Chrome is difficult to use because it loads so much in, and I'm always running out of memory, even though I have a nice laptop now. But Opera doesn't do that. And so I can get away with half the memory usage on Opera than I can Chrome. So on something along the lines of a 4 megabyte system, or even maybe an 8, Chrome is very, very, very fast because it doesn't do a lot of that background stuff. The experience isn't as sharp as the Chrome, but if you're going for efficiency and you're going for memory usage optimization, I recommend Opera a lot, and it's very reliable, as Keon says. Yes. I don't use Firefox. Firefox just didn't have a lot of the I don't know, utility, and Firefox doesn't have the ability to use Hangouts any longer. So a lot of people are not using Firefox. Excuse me. Okay. By the way, this coffee is getting me. Good coffee though. By the way, you like this? Magic. Woo! Woo! It's still, by the way, it's still a green cup. It's still a green cup. I have like 5 of these. People think that I might use the same cup all the time. No, I have like 5 of these green cups, and I love them. So.
It's like a black hole moving across the screen.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay. So there's also different ways you can do the encoder, hardware, software. I normally do software. You can use hardware coding, but it's very intensive. There's no reason to. Your audio bit rate would be your clarity. We use actually a 64K bit rate for the podcast, believe it or not, in the Non Sequitur show. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, when you're just using voice, there's not a lot of difference between the audio bit rates. I personally cannot tell the difference between a 64K and a 256K if it's just voice. Music obviously would be the difference. But on the podcast, we have a 100 megabyte limit. And if you have something over 100 megabyte, you can't upload it. So what I do is I download the video, I put it in a program, I cut it, I splice it, I cut out some of the stuff, and I put bumpers on it. I render it, then I actually convert it online to a 64-bit audio bit rate, and then that's what I upload. That lowers it to about a maximum of about 90. So I'm close to that limit, but even on the shows that last about 2 hours, I'm able to get it in one episode. If it's a bigger one, then I have to break it up into 2 parts. But if you're running a podcast, you've got to break it down into a 64-bit audio rate just because of that limit. And again, if it's just voice, you're not going to notice that much difference. So that's a pro tip for you. The other thing you might want to check out would be the encoder presets. Now, this is a little bit conceptually difficult for some people to understand. You have slower to ultra fast, and people think that ultra fast is better, right? You want fast, right? Well, not necessarily. What this does is the faster you have it, the less CPU you use, but the faster it gets it out and the less quality that you're going to have, right? This is kind of like similar to that normal latency to the low latency thing, similar in the fact that this would be allowing me to interact with like real-time chat if I have a slow computer or low bandwidth. I don't want to be too CPU intensive, so I would encode it really, really fast to get it out, but it's going to be a much lower resolution. You might get pixelization, you might get problems with it, but you prevent buffering. What's that?
So if whenever I stream, it usually tells me that the incoming video is like insufficient or something like that. Like it's not getting enough video to stream properly. Yep. So would turning that up?
No. What you're having an issue is, what is your bit rate? What's your resolution?
I have no clue what the resolution. I do. I'm getting 720p, but I'm only doing 500 bit rate.
Well, yeah, you're exceptionally too low. I have 6,000 bit rate.
Okay. Yeah, but whenever I try to do higher, it just lags, and like I have 90 something.
What's your computer? Do you have a dual core or quad core?
It is an HP Intel Premium Silver.
Is that like a original Pentium, or is that like a modern computer?
It's modern.
Yeah. Well, yeah, your thing is you have to adjust your video bit rate to adjust for 720p. So you're trying to stream too high. What I would recommend, it's always easier to well, for me, when I'm testing it, I will start at the basic, like 420, and then work my way up with bit rates and try it out. Right. And I noticed, like on this computer, I can't stream at 1080p. It doesn't work as well. And so I don't want to max out and I don't want to clip. So I found my sweet spot by just trial and error. That's what you're going to have to do. But what this encoder is it, like I said, it gets it out faster. You don't really need to change it if you don't need it. I just have it on faster, which is your default, I think, or very fast might be default. I think I actually make it a little bit slower so you get a higher res. But the other thing is, if you want to have a local recording, this is where you put that, and then you can change your recording quality. So other than that, that's pretty straightforward on that. The other things you might have to change is your audio. This is going to be your key thing right here. This is your desktop audio device. Okay. This is the only thing that you're really going to probably have to change other than your mic. Your desktop audio is what the outside is going to be listening to. Basically, you want it to be on the same channel as your speakers. So whatever my speakers are hearing, whatever I'm hearing, I want everybody else to hear. So this is why the desktop audio device is going to be what you are hearing broadcast out. And then the other thing would be on your mic auxiliary, which is your microphone, which is this. Now, if you notice here, now I'm not streaming on this, but when I'm speaking, this is my audio level. Now, when you adjust this level, I want it to be just slightly going into the red here. Now, again, audiophiles, you do it your own way. I happen to like this way. I like it to be a little bit high, but not where it's clipping. What happens is when you're clipping, like watch when I have no reduction, it'll go to a red line a lot more. But if I have a reduction, it doesn't go that high, right? So I usually find that for this particular stream, I'll go about 6 dB, 3 dB lower. But it's trial and error. And then for your desktop audio, like for example, somebody start talking.
Okay. Just trying to take a look at that and see how it's going. Now, I'm not using a separate microphone. I'm using a mic on my computer.
Now, do you guys see where this was at? Did you guys see that she was basically up here, right? Yeah. So she wasn't clipping. It wasn't solid red.
Tess.
Hi, Steve. You're in the same boat. So I have it about a minus 12.5 dB. It can vary 10. I've had to put it down to 15 sometimes. Every computer is different. Every stream is different. I've just worked with these levels, so I just know around 5 or 6 dB for the mic, 12 for the desktop. Your thing is going to be different, right? So play with that before you go live, right? When we say we're doing audio checks, literally this is what we're doing on the vMix software that we're using, right? This is what Dave's checking. He's making sure that the audio levels are equalized, normalized. Nobody's too high, nobody's too low, nobody's clipping. And that has taken several months of trial and error, by the way. And when anybody comes on and their mic is crappy, we have to boost them up. If the mic is really good and their gain's high, we have to pull them down. And by the way, pro tip, gain and volume, not the same thing.
Yes.
I cannot emphasize that enough. Do not ever go into a stream with 30 dB or higher gain. It's all people are going to hear is this really loud, muffled, and it's going to pick up any background noises. 10 dB gain is fine if you're really pushing it 20. But dB gain literally takes anything that you have and amplifies everything, including background noise and static and crap. And people say that you're overdriving your mic is because your gain is too high. Don't have a high gain. This mic has I'm actually turned down the gain. I'm actually at 5 dB lower, right? Because this is actually a pretty decent mic.
Can you show where the gain is again?
This right here. This is your gain. Okay. Now, again, I'm not streaming through this, so it won't have any effect. Now, there are some interesting things in here that you can add. You can add some advanced properties and filters. And I can actually change the gain here. See, I have a straight 10 dB gain here, but then I knock it down a little bit manually. It's just the way it works for me. But again, I can just put this as a flat 0 if I need to. Okay. But when you're up here and you're at like 30 dB, it's gonna be horrible. It's just ridiculous. So this is a filter that you can add, by the way.
Always give yourself some headroom.
And there's other filters you can add. I'm not going to get too much into this detail stuff. This would be a more advanced thing for OBS, but if you want to add like a noise gate, what that does is if you don't meet a certain threshold, it's not going to deactivate your mic. Okay, but I found that the defaults work pretty well for this stuff. This noise gate will be a little thing that pops up. Let me see. Well, let me see if I can add it on here. Property or filters, noise gate. This is your threshold. And so if you don't meet the certain threshold, it's not going to, like right here, see that little yellow thing? That's your noise gate. So if it doesn't meet that, it's not going to actually broadcast those people. But that's a low advanced option. I don't think we need to get that much. Okay, so let's dive into the meat and potatoes of OBS. Unless anybody's got a question so far, because this is where OBS shines. Nothing? Anybody? All right, good to go. This is divided into a couple different parts. You have your scenes and your sources. I'm not going to lead any of my scenes here, but I'll show you like a specific scene. Like say I want to play a movie. I can go, okay, play the scene, right? So when we're doing a lead-in video, this is how we would actually do it, right? But we're going to start a scene from scratch. We're going to be going test. Okay, so I have a new scene here. In the scene, we provide our sources, okay? And what a source is an input. I could add a browser. I can add an image. I can add an image slideshow. I can add text. Let's say I'm going to start a text, and I'm going to say, okay, I want to say, hi, all. I can change the color. Most of the stuff is really, hello, world, repeat. So this is how you would add just basic text. Right. Very, very simple. And again, I'm going to keep this very, very simple because I don't think there's a need to overcomplicate this stuff. But this allows you to see what this is. Now, I do recommend this, pro tip. I do recommend renaming these things. So I know exactly what text it's showing. Because once you get a very complex scene, you don't know what's what, right? So if I wanted to say, I just want to get rid of that real quick on the fly, boom, it's not visible any longer. So I go in and I rename a lot of these things. That way I know exactly what it's corresponding to. And then this little button here allows you to fix it here. And this is what's visible. This is what the outside is going to see, this black area here. So if I click this, now this is not movable, right? It's not adjustable. But if it's unlocked, I can move it around anywhere I want, and I can size it anywhere I want, and everything's on the fly there. So we're going to add a video capture device, which is going to be basically your camera or your virtual camera. Nothing in here you really need to change. I'm not going to go into detail on this stuff. If you want to add your camera, this is where your device would be. The OBS has a virtual camera, and so does Xsplit Broadcaster. But this is where you're going to add that. Now, I'm already using my camera, so it's not going to show. And what happens is when you're already using an input and it's not showing anything, it's going to produce this little dot there. And what that just means is that there's an input, but it's not being utilized. And then if you want to add like an image, you just go to your browse. I'm going to go to my Google Translate. Did you guys see this one that I posted on Twitter?
Yeah, that was pretty.
I made it through GIMP, by the way. So I put this. This is GIMP. This is Trump's translator. We just went political here, so this will get demonetized. Not for kids, but there you go. This is my Trump translator.
So with the images, that's how you would add in like borders and stuff around your different sources.
What do you mean by border? Like, oh, you mean like a background?
Yeah.
Yes. I would go to image, and let's say I want to add an image. Then let's see here, like my DEFCON 1 science layout. I would add this here, and what happens is, if you notice, it covered up that live, right? These little arrows here will give you the priority by which it shows. I want to drop this down a little bit because I want my background to be the base level. So I'm dropping that down to the very bottom. So now anything above it's going to be shown priority wise. Big pro tip on that. So now when I add in something like my video, I can put my video here and I can put somebody else's video here. So keep the background in the background. Some of the other things you could probably do, the display capture if I want to display a particular entire video, I would do that. I'm running 2 monitors, and on the other monitor, I got some stuff you're not going to see, so I'm not going to go to my display capture, but that's how you do that. Color source just adds a color. That's, I mean, simple as that. If you want to put a black thing over something, or a blue thing, or white thing, that's a color source. Browser allows you to do a browser window. Like if I want there's a specific window from Chrome that I'm showing, like I'm reading a web page, I would use that. And then the audio inputs are just extraneous stuff that you probably will never have to use.
So the browser source is what you would use, like if you were playing a video. And
there's 2 ways of doing that. You can do it as a browser source, or you can do it as a display capture. Now, the advantage to the browser source, it is faster. Display capture is not as fast normally as a browser capture. However, if you have an LCD screen, probably doesn't make too much difference. But generally speaking, you will do it as a browser capture if you're running a game in a browser, right? If you're running an external game, then you're going to be doing a display capture, right? It's like I play this game here, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, great game. That's full screen, and so I would have to do that as a video capture if I want to stream with that. Let's see here. There's a couple other things you might want to take note of. There's studio mode, which is right here. Oh, by the way, this is self-explanatory, but when you're ready to stream using OBS, you click start stream. When you're ready to stop, start, and then this will say stop when you're streaming. And then the other thing, if I just want to do a local recording where I'm not streaming, but I want to record it from my hard drive, I'm going to use start recording. But the studio mode is kind of nice because what this allows you to do is, if I don't want to see the outside to see what I'm changing around, like let's say I wanted to resize this, right? I can resize this, I can put this here and move it around. It doesn't stream until I actually do a transition. Nice. And then when I transition it, now it moves that over, right? Yeah. And I can do it with a couple of cut scenes. I can do a quick cut. I can do a fade. But that allows me to do behind the scenes stuff as a producer when I'm producing stuff. The outside, it just makes it cleaner. That's all, right? Sure. When you're in studio mode.
So you can run the whole show with this open, and you've got it in studio mode, and you're doing all sorts of stuff there, right?
Yeah, I'm running it in studio mode.
Okay.
Let me. I'm kind of curious here. Let me see something real quick.
But now that you've got 2 monitors, can you have your screen that you're playing with is on a separate monitor?
Yeah, I can have the OBS, normally this will all be over on my other screen over that you won't see. I just move it. I just slide it over. So nobody's seeing that when I'm streaming, right? You're only seeing what my desktop looks like on the primary monitor. Yeah. And when I slide this over, now you can see that what I'll be doing behind the scenes.
Nice.
Let's see here.
This is blowing my mind, Steve. I worked as technical director at a little PBS station. So I used to use Grass Valley switchers and all that, and chyrons and all that. And Jerry's just a whiz at that sort of stuff. So it's like, oh, wow, this is cool.
The key thing in this is trial and error and practice. Now, I will give you another pro tip. If you go into your ingestion and you put that as private, you can play around with it all you want, because nobody's going to be seeing that. You are the only person that can see a private thing. So if you go into your ingestion and you change that from public to private, and then just play around with your OBS, you're good to go, right? I mean, it's going to stream, it's going to make a video, but you can delete that video later on and you don't have to worry about it. But for example, when I do my DEF CON 1 science, the way I'll do it is this is how you would actually produce it. I always start off with a blank. And the reason I do that is because I want to make sure that everything is working properly when I go live. Right. It'll actually say live down here. It'll tell you your CPU usage and your frame rate, which is kind of nice. Again, I have it on here. This is a bigger breakdown. But then I will go into my intro. And so the intro will go to a lead-in video. This is all done automatically, right? I have this video automatically rendered. It'll play the music, right? Yeah. And then it'll actually go into what I made through HitFilm. You guys seen this before. If you watch DEF CON 1 Science, by the way, we might be having a DEF CON 1 late tonight. I don't know yet. The reason is that a person, by the way, can you guys hear this music? I don't know if you can in the Zoom, but You guys can't, but can the outside hear this? Because I really dig this song. I'm gonna let it play actually, if you guys can hear it.
I'm not hearing anything.
Watch the outside video and tell me if you can hear it, because I really love this song. I hunted for some music for DEF CON 1 Science, and I found this. I was like, this is it. This is great. But I'm gonna let it play through so people can watch the CGI I made at the end.
You guys seen this before.
Turn off the volume.
You might be having a DEF CON 1 late tonight.
If you're watching the video, turn off the volume. Kyle's not the only one that does graphics, by the way. I do a lot of the CGI as well for different things, like the dumpster fire and the Reds. I did all that CGI. But we might have one late tonight because somebody who wants to ask some questions about evolution, Jackson Weed and myself, and maybe some other people are going to have a discussion Q&A tonight at 8 o'clock Pacific time. So check it out.
Until I see a crocoduck, I won't believe it.
You know what? Casey was supposed to actually bring King Crocoduck himself was actually joining the after show last night, but he got wrapped up. But I was going to bring him on. You mentioned him. But anyways,
yeah, it's not playing for you, Steve.
It's not playing on the outside.
Yeah, I'm actually watching it via YouTube. It's like 30 seconds behind.
Bummer.
And there's nothing.
But you can at least they can see the CGI. It's too bad.
Yeah, we see. Yeah, DEF CON Science. Yep.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense because I'm hearing it through my speakers, but the outside's not. I would have to play it through Zoom, but fair enough. But anyways, that's how I do the DEF CON intro, and then I just go to the main screen like this. And like this is like showing the outside my video here. I'm watching the live chat. My Xsplit would be what I also use, which will have a separate hangout for that if people are interested. But like this, I need to actually add the background. So let me add my image here. Browse, and this I'll show you what this actually would look like. So I'll extend this out here, right? I just pull it, and then I drop this all the way down to the bottom, and then I would just move these. I would move these videos around and size them appropriately to fill the space. All right. Now,
there we go.
Here's a pro tip. See the green here as opposed to the red?
Where's Hannah?
Who? What? Hello? Okay, so see the green? That means it's been cropped. Reds means it's resized. And the way you do this is using shift and control. If I hit shift and I drag this out, I can elongate it, I can shorten it. This changes the actual size, okay? But it doesn't crop it. If I want to crop something out, like let's say I didn't want people to see the live chat, I can hit control. Yeah. Dang it. Sometimes it doesn't work great. One sec. Usually it's control. Isn't it control? No. Or is it alt? Maybe it's alt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's alt. I'm sorry. It's not control. It's alt. So if I want to like just cut this stuff out, I can actually crop this. This is an easy way to crop on the fly. You can do it through an actual filter and you can crop it, but that way you have to put the settings in, like your X and Y. We got Dave coming in. But if I just wanted to crop it on the fly, look at now the live chat's gone, right? So if I didn't want to include the live chat, I could just crop it out. But if I want to include the live chat, then I can uncrop it. So that's a pro tip. So shift allows you to size it, and alt allows you to crop it. So, and again, a pro tip there. Dave, welcome. Our actual producer for our live streams on Non Sequitur Show. Dave, you there? Dave. I guess not.
Dave-o.
All right. Well, anyways, so that's really kind of the tutorial in a nutshell. Again, not very complicated to get you started. Two things is setting it up and then setting up OBS. It's trial and error. But let me look at the live chat here. Let me see. Let me see.
Can you guys
stop? Yeah, let me stop sharing for a second. Here.
I hear Dave.
Now the outside chat doesn't see my stream, and they should be able to see everybody in the Hangout.
Whoa. Big feet there.
Yeah. So
I'm here.
Hi, Dave.
I just had fun with my roommate's show.
Oh, I didn't know you were broadcasting. I'm sorry. I didn't want to step. I didn't mean to step there.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
We're done.
You're done.
They left. They're going out this evening. So.
Do you have any pro tips since you are the pro? Do you have I don't obviously didn't watch the tutorial, but do you have anything you want to add for using OBS in your experience that might help people?
Well, considering I just got done using it, don't be afraid to make a bunch of scenes. for little changes. Like you'd be surprised at how much stuff gets reused in OBS.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I have multiple scenes for that very reason, right? And so I can do one scene to another, and even for minor changes, rather than on the fly having to change stuff. Because again, you could use the transitions and you use the studio to make minor changes. But if I know that I'm already going to have a different layout, I just created another scene for it, and you can duplicate the scene and then make minor changes, and then go from one scene to another, right? Does anybody that use OBS have any questions? I mean, as far as experiences they've had with it, and maybe some complications or things that they just haven't been able to resolve, other than why you have to use backup? Malik, I have no idea. That's just weird.
Yeah, I don't know why, but my Streamlabs hates me. It's devil incarnate.
OBS, vibrantly asked, what does OBS stands for? It stands for Open Broadcast Software, or Open Broadcasting Software.
Yeah, I just posted something in the chat about Opera. So if you wanted to use that browser instead of Google.
What was it that you posted?
Yeah, just basically the introduction to what Opera is, and it's just basically a Wikipedia thing. It's way up there in the chat.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm a big fan of Opera. I've been using Opera for a very, very long time. I mean, ever since it pretty much been around. I found it to be very, very fast. I watch a lot of TV shows on Couch Tuner, and I find that if I use Chrome, it loads in the entire movie or show if I'm not watching it, like if I have to step away. And so it uses a lot of memory, especially on a laptop when you only have like 4 gig. What's that?
Chrome is a pig.
Yeah, and it's I understand why it does it, right? But Chrome uses a lot of memory, so I don't want to watch it through Chrome. But now when I use Opera, it uses a fraction of it, like half. And so whenever I'm going to be going to like Couch Tuner to watch Hell's Kitchen, watched episode 8 last night, then I do it through Opera. So there's a lot of advantages of Opera. Don't use a blue cup, Steve. No, this is a green cup. That's why it's blue. I got a green screen. Now I got a blue screen on the other side, but
it's blue because it's green.
Yeah, it's blue because it's green, right?
I'm confused. Hey,
you
by
can
the
actually
way,
see the clipping a little bit. Right here, if you noticed. Right?
You can see through Steve and the cup.
Yeah, normally Dave runs the green screen for us. He's able to change images on the fly, and why he hasn't done strange stuff to us. Just a practical joke, because I don't know why.
Well,
but
I've been meaning to ask Steve, why do you need a third party for your show? What's happening? I've always.
We don't need Dave. We just like him.
No.
No.
Well, I'm sure he's well. I'm sure he's needed. I was just curious as how it worked.
Producing
what are you actually doing?
Producing is one of the more difficult things. I don't think people realize what goes on. Dave, I've seen Dave's setup, and we use vMix, a very high end of vMix. It's very, very, very expensive, and it is like an engineer's board. And the reason being is, one, it allows you to do a lot of audio stuff, to control the audio levels, change the scenes, and the biggest thing is it has NDI and the ability to take a source as a camera for each individual person's in the vMix call. What that boils down to is, normally when people use low-end software, you have to crop out stuff. Like Zoom will have each individual window for us, right? But if I'm using Google Hangouts or something, I have to crop out everybody. If I'm using Skype, I have to crop out the individual person. And if anybody comes in or leaves, what happens to the layout?
It changes. Like if I was to do this Zoom call, I would have to capture the window and have it in there 3 times, one for Misha, one for Steve, and one for Michael, I guess is how you say it. Sorry, I don't know you.
Malik. Mikhail Malik.
Malik. Okay.
Like Gorbachev.
Okay. Mikhail Malik. Whatever.
Just like Gorbachev.
But I would have to literally have that capture it 3 times, not necessarily, but reference it 3 times and crop it out 3 different ways.
So
whereas
that's how you would do.
I could just with vMix, and then I get to map that crop into where it goes.
In vMix, everybody gets their own unique link, right? Here, anybody can come join if they hit the Zoom link. I just have to approve them, right? But on vMix, everybody has their own individual link, and that's why you can't share that link, because if one person tries to come in when somebody else is already using that link, guess what happens? It kicks them out. Yeah.
So it gives me, with vMix, it gives me a way to map that person anywhere I want them to go. And if somebody leaves, they just keep on going. A lot of times you see people frozen on the non sequitur show, it's because they left the V call.
So Dave, have you ever figured out why people end up upside down?
Why people end up upside down?
Well, they came in the other day and they were upside down for some strange
Yeah,
reason.
couple of times.
Well, you can rotate the picture.
Right.
So, and we can do that using, you can, X and Y are obvious, but Z, you can actually rotate the picture to any orientation that you want. So yeah, I can rotate you upside down if I want. And if something changes on the Z axis and it's not reset, sometimes it can read wrong. So
now this, like I said, this was a very basic tutorial. I might do a different one for Xsplit, and I want to actually show people on a different video how to stream to Facebook. That's getting very popular to stream to Facebook. However, it's done completely different. So that's going to be a separate tutorial altogether. People are interested in that.
We just used the non sequitur shows Restream because they can do Facebook tonight. So I just used that tonight.
Restream is nice, but the Restream, the problem with Restream is that the Facebook option is paid. Right? There's no free.
Yeah.
There's no free There's a free version of Restream, but it doesn't allow you to go to anything worthwhile that much. So if you want to restream to Facebook, what that basically is doing is you're streaming to Restream, and then they stream out to YouTube and to Facebook, so you can cover more platforms, which is brilliant. But that does cost. And Zoom, like here, we're already paying for this. This is a full version of Zoom. And then we paid for podcast hosting. There are a lot of expenses in doing non sequitur. People don't seem to realize we do pay for this stuff because the free versions have some limitations. They're great, don't get me wrong. Zoom is wonderful. You get 40 minutes, but like XSplit, we have a paid version of that. Well, the reason being is well, you know what? What's some of the advantages of the paid versions that you think are worth it?
Well, with XSplit, it's the ability to do high def and use all the features. Like it's crippleware, literally, like the free version.
Oh, and it also has only five scenes for the XSplit, which is very, very limiting. You can't do a show with 5 scenes. And like you said, it doesn't do the high def. It doesn't do it doesn't have a lot of the features that the full version have, the cripple version. But XSplit is really good for people that just want to stream general stuff. So is OBS, just like this. I mean, this is a free OBS is completely free. I found that anything that I want to do in XSplit, I can pretty much do in OBS, and I don't particularly have a problem with open source software. So,
well, the XSplit is good for one thing. If you happen to do a lot of gaming, it's very good because they also have a gaming. It's slimmed down. It's built to pop up in your game and stream from that.
The Gamecaster.
The Gamecaster.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's actually two different things. XSplit Broadcaster
it
and
is.
XSplit Gamecaster. And
licensed together. So if you get the full version of XSplit, you get both.
Like you said, it is a scaled down version of Broadcaster, and it's just for gaming. But if you're just a gamer, then yes, you Gamecaster.
It's brilliant. It makes it stupid simple. OBS is a pain in the butt compared to that. But there's so many things like my computer, for example, has a video card that has streaming built into it. Like literally my video card does it for me. I don't need a XSplit or OBS to do games for my machine. So
somebody asked, is OBS available for Mac? I'm not the Mac person to ask.
Yes, it is, but it's a big pain in the butt. Like the biggest thing is going to be audio. I'm not going to lie. The biggest thing is going to be audio. Audio is a pain in the butt.
Do you have any other pro tips for audio other than?
I was going to just ask about that.
What's that?
Yeah, about the audio. Is there a way to know what's going on? Okay, so for instance, your show is live. Somebody is clipping, or their gain is just off the charts. If you don't notice it, but everybody else does, is there a way to?
Well, OBS has a mix. Like that's another advantage to using NDI, is OBS has a VU meter for each person in its mixer. If you use NDI, So I can actually literally see if people are popping up into the red, or I can hear it. Yes, I am monitoring the entire non sequitur show. I see things that no one else can see about that show. Like when they go offline and they're dancing to the end credits, I can see them. So
okay,
I
now
know,
Good.
I know more about what they're doing than they do.
Right. So NDI. Whoops.
Go ahead. I'm going to be showing something. I forgot why you were talking. They can hear you still.
I love your desktop, Steve.
Okay, I thought we just went.
No,
okay,
no,
so NDI is part of OBS, or am I confused?
Well, okay. I think they do have it in OBS now. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. I think there might be a plugin for it. Steve, if you go up to tools, what does your tools say here? Yeah, he doesn't have it, but he has virtual cam. See all those.
I had to add this. This does not come with it. Right?
Those are plugins. Yeah. Those are plugins, and you can add NDI. In fact, that's what I used tonight. The only reason I did it in OBS tonight with Skype is because I didn't know if they were going to use vMix. vMix belongs to the non sequitur show. For the time being, I do want to get my own license so I can use it too, because I love it as a tool. But OBS is sufficient. So you can put NDI into it with a plugin, and it will accept NDI inputs, just like vMix will. But vMix does it by default. It's just a little bit harder to build in here. And vCall is actually a little bit different than NDI again, because it's strictly proprietary to vMix. So.
Yeah, like I said, OBS, because OBS is open software, there are things you can add to it. There are plugins. However, there's one thing that I want to show people that I think is really a cool feature, because people have asked before. Under the browser here, if I go to my properties, this actually is my live chat, right? And I can pop out the live chat and put the browser for that live chat when you pop it out in here, and I can create a custom CSS script. Right, and this script here allows you to change the colors, all this stuff, and
there's a site that lets you create that CSS.
Yeah,
you don't even have to do it. Like, you just set it up how you want to look.
Yeah, it's called Chat 2.0 Generator.
Chat 2.0 Generator.
Chat 2.0 V Generator. If you search for that in your browser, Chat 2.0 V Generator, CSS script or whatever, then it does it all for you. Matter of fact, I think. Let me see if I can actually. Chat. It's called Chat V.20 style generator, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. It looks like this.
Damn.
And so this allows you to change these things, change your colors, change your size, and you play with it. And then what happens at the very bottom, it creates the script for you. And you basically just cut all this into into here.
Into that box, and you take out whatever's in that box before it and just make it empty, and that's the only thing in there. And now his chat looks like that.
Now I've got a transparent chat. Now I've got colors, and you can play around with it, and that's a really cool feature when you're streaming. So that's a pro tip.
Wow.
Right, yeah. I'm not going to show you too much what's going on in the live chat, because it's just weird about something about me and Kyle making out, and no, that's not going to happen.
well, your viewership would go up.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure, but no. Well, you're going to have people watching this are going to have to watch this later on and read the live chat to understand what the hell that was all about. So
yeah, no, we're not going to have a rum and cocaine night. Maybe next week.
Yeah, maybe next week, hopefully. But anyways, like I said, I do want to keep this kind of short. This is a little bit over an hour. It's perfect. Please like this video, subscribe, send it out via Twitter. The main thing when people send these things out is I have a little analytical thing. I can see who tweeted this out. I can see every time somebody tweets a link and that URL, it tracks this stuff. So I do appreciate when people tweet these videos out, especially in the non sequitur show. That's how we gain an audience, and we're trying to get that to 20,000 by December 25th. I think we're going to make it. It's going to be close. By Christmas, we want to get 20,000 subs.
I didn't say that.
Oh, he's talking to his kid.
So last minute stuff. Anybody got any questions before I end this? Again, if you have a question, leave it in the comment section. I'll address it later on. If you want to have a special tutorial on something else, let me know. I'm fine with using Xsplit. I'm fine with a lot of different streaming software, or just anything that you find an interest. If I can't particularly do a tutorial on it, I will find somebody for you that'll lead it. So, Dr. Griffith, I hope this was helpful in some way. Hope you learned something?
That's wonderful. I
Okay,
appreciate
so it wasn't too basic. I mean, like I said, I wanted to keep it simple for a reason. I don't think there's really any reason to complicate this.
No, this video was awesome. I'm gonna have to rewatch it, and I'm gonna probably make my own manual based off of it. And then maybe next week or 2 weeks from now, you can make a more detailed pro version. That would be awesome.
There's some more detailed stuff I could probably go into, but I'll probably be doing that from Xsplit. But I can address OBS stuff too.
So to clarify, if I wanted to have multiple people on my stream and not do a hangout or whatever, I would, if I was going through like Skype, I would capture that window as many times as there was people, crop it down to just a little video and put that in. Yeah,
I use a duplicate feature, and then we basically, like I said, if I got 4 people in Skype, then I'll make 4 different sources, right? And then crop it down to show each one. That's how like Drunken Peasants does it that way. A lot of shows does it that way, because if you don't have that, the Geek Room does it that way. Again, if you don't have that individual input like we have with vMix, that's the only way you can really do it. But like I said, vMix is a very, very expensive program. But that's the biggest factor, is that we didn't want, when people come and go, to change the entire layout, because Dave loses his mind when he has to resize everything. If you guys watch earlier on, Dave just flips out when somebody leaves, right? Who comes in?
Don't leave my layout. Don't fuck up my layout,
exactly.
Guys.
So
beware the Dave.
Yeah, we've seen a progression. If you go back and look at the Non Sequitur show from the inception back a year ago to now, it's come a long way. But
well,
anyway,
I started producing in May 6th. It's my first show, and it was with Telltale Atheist.
Yeah, and I was producing before that, so I had a much slower computer. I had a dual core, and I didn't have vMix. I didn't have that advantage that you have.
Oh, thank you, Jammy, for the advantage.
Yeah, Jammy was our benefactor for that. He got us the full version, not just the scaled down version, but we're talking like the top one. Or was it the top or the second top?
No, we got the top. We actually sprung for the.
It's the one the professionals actually use, like literally like CNN or any of those guys. I mean, if you're going to be using any kind of software, they're going to be using high-end software. So. All right, I'm going to end this. I want to thank you guys for watching. Leave comments and like and subscribe, and I do appreciate it. And we'll see you later on.
Thank you, Steve.
I got to figure out how to stop this. There we go.